Hey guys, welcome back to the Off the Script podcast with me, Jermaine, my co-host Joe, and another new special guest of the show. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Andy Scott, or as known on Instagram as AMS MUSCLE.
Mm-hmm. And let's for the people who don't know about you, which is probably not that many. What are you? You're a bodybuilder, but like what have you done? Like what's your thing?
Yeah, I'm the current PCA and Nabba British overall champion, Class 1 champion.
Cool.
I've also won the UKBFF British Juniors back 7 years ago now. So those are the three kind of top titles that I have, or I've gained over the past 8 years of competing. Yeah.
So you've been competing for 8 years. How many years have you actually been training for then?
Since I was 16, so I'm 28 now. So that's 12 years this past May. I played quite high level rugby as well, so I had a wee bit of introduction through weight training in that. Okay. So that was almost, if we're talking about lifting weights for purpose, it's probably about 12, 14 years, I'd say.
Okay, cool. Wow. Jeez. I've been training 4 years. Got a long way to go.
I can't believe I'm saying, I'm 28. I remember you were just talking about your first show when you were 19. Yeah. That feels like 2 days ago to me. It's just gone that quickly. So
you competed, first time you competed was 18?
I was 19.
19. You were 19 as well, Dan.
Yeah, Nabba Scottish.
Well, hopefully by the time I'm 28, I'll have as many titles as you do. I need to win a show first. So you're 28 now, and obviously you compete, but you're also a coach.
Yeah.
As well. How long have you been coaching for?
As a full-time job for 4 years. Okay. It's kind of as a side bit since about 2013. So guys will come up to me in the gym and they ask, "Can you prep me for a show?" And for the first couple of guys, I didn't even charge them. So it was a hobby, really. Because I'm actually an engineer to trade. So, but I fucking hated that. So, and I moved down to Glasgow in 2014. Because I'm originally from Aberdeen in the northeast, and so moved down to Glasgow. And then the oil and gas industry collapsed. So my graduate job was wiped off. And I always said I wouldn't be a PT, because I remember just seeing it's you see some shite PTs in gyms.
I hated being a PT. I hated it.
I'll never be that. So I was always put off by being a personal trainer. And then one day I turned around and went, "No, what? I'm just going to take a punt at it," and it's been the best thing I've ever done. So I love prepping guys. That's number one for me. If that's where I kind of want to go down, steer towards, other than my own competing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
awesome. How did you become so when you say people come up to you and ask you to prep them, are you confident in the beginning to just go, "Yeah, let's do it, let's give it"?
No, I think the first guy I prepped, I was like, "Look, I don't really know what I'm doing, prep wise." So
yeah,
I was you're kind of taking a wee bit of a punt with me, but I kind of just put him through what I knew worked at the time. Looking back, I still don't have a clue what I made him do. But I just looked at him twice a week, because he trained around the same time as I did. So looked at him twice a week, and that kind of worked. So he won his first show, came second, and then came fourth or something at Nabba Scottish. So
awesome.
From him, he kind of just spread my name. I think even to this day, he's still telling people to come to me. So that was a while ago. So yeah,
that's awesome. What a way!
A lot of money.
Yeah, that's such a great way to start off a coaching career. I'm asking because I'm now at a point where I'm going to start coaching. Shameless plug. And it's been something that realistically I should have started a while ago, because I'm doing a S&T degree. I'm doing a coaching degree. But one thing that I know to begin with, I won't be confident with, and not even confident with. The one thing I won't do is prep someone, because I'm from my experience last year, being prepped and being in prep, I found that I had a bunch of stuff that came up towards the end of prep, which I had no clue how to deal with. And just I know that personally for me, in like trying to take someone through that situation that I was in, I'd struggle to do it because I just don't have the practical knowledge yet. Do you know? So what do you think is like the biggest things when looking at a contest prep coach in particular?
As in someone looking for a contest prep coach?
Either or, just like where like getting into it as a coach or prepped as a coach. What are you looking for? What qualities?
Well, number one, you've obviously had to go through a few yourself. By the point I started, I'd already done 4 shows.
Yeah.
And like my first season, I competed all year. So I had like a good grasp of things. And so number one is experience. Like for me, the 2 guys that I kind of went to for advice, the 2 guys up in Scotland, they've won tons of shows. You know, they've got the physiques to speak themselves, and that for me has always been that draw. You have to have something that people want to go to you for. So, for instance, I coach quite a few bodybuilders because I've done stuff in bodybuilding, which you'd think that would be like the case, but so many people go to coaches that have, you know what I mean, that don't have that, they don't fit what they want to be, which doesn't make sense to me, you know what I mean? But yeah, so you definitely experience
a football coach to do basketball, would you? So
exactly, yeah. I mean, you need to have that insight yourself into each achieving a certain level. And if you want to win shows, go to guys who win shows or have clients. You know what I mean? Like
you're winning.
That's what makes sense to me. I mean, if you look at all the top coaches, like the first one that comes to my head, like if you think of like Jamie Derego, he wins shit, and tons of people go to him. That's just business 101 to me. So definitely, like you have to practice what you preach. Big time. So.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me of we have a friend called Tim who's been on here before. He prepped himself for his first show, and then following that he ended up having a client who he took on, and he prepped for multiple shows and ended up placing first, second, third, whatever. Off the back of that just blew him up. So it just makes sense. Like does he just like results speak for themselves?
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it's. I mean, you can talk all you want, like on like you should do X, Y, Z in a prep or X, Y, Z in a diet, but until people have seen you do that, then you know it's unlikely you're going to have like a massive client base unless you put yourself through a prep. So
it's speaking of coaching, like you're working with Patrick now, right?
Yeah, Patrick Tuor. Yeah.
How did that come about, or?
So I've always I've been watching Patrick for years. I've been following him, and because he's been on the scene since the early 90s. So so basically what it was, like I was working with one of my mates, Nick Vandal. So basically Nick has prepped me for the past 3 seasons, so 19, 18 and 15. And but he's never done an off season with me. I've never had an off season coach. I've always just done it myself. And after kind of like the results of last year, I kind of knew that I needed to really push or find a different avenue to keep progressing in off season. I just didn't feel that. I felt I was doubting myself all the time, and I was trying different things and wasting time. And so I thought, fuck it, I need to get someone on board. And I'd listened to like Patrick for years, and I was kind of like, he kind of makes sense to me. I've always I think everyone knows his client has like a certain look, like that full look, and I kind of
it's like it is a desirable look, right? It's
big time.
Like, and you go, that's cool. It looks
cool. Definitely. So I was kind of like, well, he's the first choice, and so I just contacted him, and a week later I was coaching with him. So
awesome. Like Patrick Tuor has cropped up a lot for me, like over like a couple of years. His stuff, can you correct me if I'm wrong, but his training system kind of revolves around training first, and then you're eating for the training, as opposed to like just getting meals and then pounding back through the training seems to be the focus.
So the SST is I'm sure you've heard him say, like, it's not necessarily high volume, it's like high density. You've probably heard like James Hollingshead rattle on about that like numerous times.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what it is. You know, you're trying to fit as much output in the smallest space at time. And yeah, he's trying to create a calorific demand from the training. So rather than the opposite way around, he says, what we'll do is we'll do as much training as possible so you can eat as much as possible to facilitate that.
Right, yeah.
And yeah, it fucking works. I mean, once you've got your fitness up to a certain level, because I think it's like 6 weeks I'm doing SST, or the 5th week. The first 3 weeks, like I was using like half the weight of what I was using in the previous training system, because my fitness was pish, it was crap. So, but now it's up to a level where I'm like, you can proper go for it, and it makes all the difference. Cool. You can definitely see how that training develops that look. You definitely see how it fills out the muscle and it rounds it out and things like that. It's fucking nails it. The first week, it definitely beat me. The third thing he makes you do is like 10 sets of 3, with 15 seconds rest in between each sets.
So it's a lot of Widowmaker sort of like
like
intensity
tests. I was doing a lot of that shit. Obviously, like over here, everything's back open and stuff. But when I was just training with my mate in his garden and stuff, we do like side raises, like 4 reps, 5-second rest, 4 reps, 5-second rest, just until you can't do them anymore. It's fucking crazy.
It's fucking nails. I tried doing deadlifts. So by the 5th set, my lower back was screaming, because I watched James Hollinshead do it. Like, fucking, I'm not letting him do it, and I'm not doing it. So
I
tried to do deadlifts, and that was a big mistake. But I just filmed a training video on Saturday with my mate Greg, and I done bent over rows for one of the principles, and I wouldn't have been able to do that 2 weeks ago. So it's definitely a good way of like developing that kind of. I know we don't really talk about fitness a lot in bodybuilding.
Yeah.
In terms of like your aerobic capacity, so it's definitely a way to ramp that right up. I'd be excited to see if I was on SST for a while and then went back to kind of like my low volume kind of training, how I'd deal with kind of higher rep sets, like for your 15-20 rep sets. So because they used to gas me. So
do you think SST is like sustainable for a long period of time, or do you think it should be like in periods and then dropping the volume down a little bit? Or
if the food is and the recovery is there, I don't see why you can't keep doing it. I mean, he's got me on 6 sessions a week. I've done 4 sessions for 5 years or something like that now. And, apart from like everyone's got their wee niggles and pains, apart from those being there all the time, I think you can do it for a good period of time. It doesn't need to be like a 4-week burst. It just depends on your recovery capability. So, and as I've gone through, because the first couple of weeks, like I said, I was gone. My recovery was shocking, and then but now like I can jump back into like a quad session like 3 days later. So it's good in that sense.
Cool.
Yeah. So like another thing I was wondering, it seems that with like this training system, it seems to be predominantly stronger guys who end up doing it. Do you see a lot of people who aren't bodybuilders doing this training system, and what sort of effect does that have? Does that make?
To be honest, I've not really seen anyone who I don't think should be doing SST.
Yeah.
You definitely need that base there first.
Yeah.
So maybe not for myself, but if we take the example again of James Hollinshead, I mean, he can squat well over 300 kilo. There comes a point where that is just, in terms of health and safety, that's just not feasible.
Makes no sense. Yeah.
You should not be
risk
doing that.
First rewards are not there, especially for hypertrophy, right? So
exactly. So there comes a point where, we all preach progressive overload, but there comes a point where you're taking the piss, and you're just, you're going to do yourself in before, you make any kind of gain.
Yeah.
So that's where that kind of training system, it then adds a new dimension to guys' physiques, rather than using it as an initial phase to actually add muscle as like a beginner or an intermediate or whatever. So
cool. Yeah, it's something that's like we spoke to, I can't remember even who it was now, about how the progression of load in a load program, and like at the end of the point there is an end point to that program, because there is just a point where like you could say, oh, you can just get infinitely strong and keep progressing that way, but actually you can't. Like you do care about your longevity.
If that was the case, you know, people who've been training 20 years would have like a 500 kilogram bench press, and you just don't see it, do you?
Yeah.
That was with Matt Tofton, that was.
Oh, it was, yeah, Matt Tofton. Yeah, it's just not feasible. So this is something that now, obviously, I'm nowhere near strong enough to squat 300 kilos. But I can just about pull 200 kilos right now off the floor. So in the future, yeah, it's something that I'm going to have to think about myself, and I'm sure a lot of the people who are listening and watching are going to potentially consider is, you know, just implementing those intensity techniques and trying to find routes for hypertrophy.
Yeah, I know Matt, I remember he put up a post maybe about a year ago, and obviously he was with JP for a long time, and I think he kind of just got just like sick of that kind of training.
Yeah, he described it as like he'd done that for a long time, as you say, and then he'd gone back and looked at like a lot of Jay Cutler's things, and he says the form was immaculate. It was still heavy enough load, but he was reaching like not like what would you say?
He was
reaching muscular failure, but not like when the form starts to break down, he never reached that point. So
it was with perfect form, absolute mechanical failure, just under the conditions of perfect form.
Yeah.
And great execution. So yeah, it's definitely something that we should all consider.
Yeah. I mean, like that's the thing I always say is that obviously you got a lot of people jumping ship in terms of like the way they train and all that all the time, but and like we all like people have their opinions on, you know, 4 a week and 5 a week push pull legs and all that sort of stuff, but you know, your body's just it's a constantly evolving thing. And that's your training should obviously match that.
Like that, yeah.
So like I took 2.5 years off from going from juniors up to misters, and I found the push pull legs worked good in that sense. I even used it up into the 2018 prep, and then from there I noticed where things were missing, and then I went back to what I'd done before, you know, the 4 a week, 5 a week split. So it's a constant evolution. It's a constantly changing thing, and I think me and Greg have spoke about this about a million times, is that people become so married to one technique and one form of training, and they just refuse to kind of hear an opinion of other training or try other methods of training. I think that's a lot of people's, you know, downfall. You know, I was a massive advocate for low volume, and I still am. I love that style of training. You know, like 6 total sets in a workout. But you hand that to some people and they're like, fuck off, I'm not doing that. Like, there's nothing there. And, you know, it's not until you put them through if you put through someone like a 4-set quad workout, they're like, oh, right, okay, that makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's kind of a big problem we have now is the guys that are just kind of marrying themselves to one way of doing things and just kind of never deviating from that.
Yeah, I don't want to start...
We don't get into the science on the podcast very much, but it's like there's 2 known types of hypertrophy, right? You got myofibrillar and you got hyperplasmic as well. So it makes sense to do something similar to SST or to Dr. Scott Stevenson's, you know, Fortitude or something like that, where strength-based training and say it's not higher volume, but there's more low, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Across the set or the session, and merging the two, because you can
get like the cumulative volume.
Yeah, of course, because that's why you're seeing so many strong guys like James, like yourself, you know, who are big anyway, but then with that extra volume and more repetitions, they look fuller. Because you go back through the history of bodybuilding, the people who tend to train with more volume have a puffier, rounder look.
Yeah.
But with obviously they don't have that like real hard, dense muscle underneath. So I think that's probably why you're seeing a lot of big guys looking freakishly round, especially big white guys, because you very rarely see it.
Yeah. I know you see some black guys like fucking hell, like how have you done that? I've had a few guys that black guys that come to me and they've like just like their base. You're like fucking. I mean, I've been training for 3 years just to get that base. But yeah, I completely agree. It's that's kind of training is going to make you look rounder and fuller. and it's even better when it's coupled with the years and years of that low volume, high loading before it. So
yeah, it's something that I've now implemented to an extent, because we had on Kevin Stutz as well, Lion King KS or whatever it is. I can't remember his Instagram. He's going to roast me for that. But he says that like he split up into his CNS dominant work, which is your like lower volume, more pounding sets, and then he also has his metabolic work, or more pumpy, fluffy, volume-based work, which I've now implemented into my program. Is your program at all a mix of that, or is it just a complete blend? Or is it like some days are dedicated to different styles?
No, it's completely metabolic work. So your cluster sets, rest pause. I call it laddering. So you go like your 12 reps, 45-second rest, max reps, 30 seconds rest, max reps, 15 second rest, and then you go back up the way.
It's like a reverse pyramid. Right?
Yeah.
That's brutal.
Oh, it's fucking. I've done that leg press today. It's fucking nasty.
Yeah.
It's like.
Do you want to take us through a leg session?
Yeah, run us through a set of leg press or something.
Right. Okay.
How does that look?
Here.
It just ends with Andy in tears.
Well, that leg press thing that I described, that I'm still using like 520 kilo on a hammer strength leg press, so it's not nice. Like with I keep going back to like the previous system. I sound like I don't like SST, but honestly, going to like a live session with SST, like I get mad anxiety. I don't get that. I've never had that. I'm not an anxious person, but when I'm away to do like that kind of rest pause, and then on a V squat, I do 10 sets of 3 with 15 seconds rest in between each set. Like as I'm doing it, I'm like almost having a panic attack because it's so fucking brutal. Because you're scared that your legs are going to give out, or you're also scared that your heart's going to give out, and you're also scared that your lungs are going to give out. So
just colon blows straight out the arsehole, yeah.
That's it. Like you just got to give your soul to 3D but granite look, I guess.
Definitely. And the saving grace is though is that you're only doing one set.
Yeah.
Of that, thank fuck. But I'll wait for the day that he turns around and says, "I need to do it twice." So,
can you imagine?
Oh fucking hell! It's it's like with anything. Once you've done it, you're proud that you've done it. So it's pretty fucking brutal. So like I said, we filmed a back SST session, so that's obviously not going to be as intense, but it gives you a good insight into kind of the intensity level.
With the one thing I did wonder, is there still an element of progressive overload with the training system?
Well, yeah, because you're still trying to progressively make it more intense. So, for instance, I've done with the V squat, I was doing 100 kilo total. That was the exercise I was talking about where I had to basically half what I was using.
Right.
And then up to 170, which is 6 25 plates and 2 10s. So the element that you still want to progress the weight, because eventually it's just going to become, too easy within that given parameter of what he's set me out to do. So, that's definitely the weight side of things is definitely still an aspect of progressive overload there. But for instance, with the decline bench, in the chest session for the 10 sets of 3 thing, I found myself just like getting pure sloppy with it. And I was like, I need to tighten this up. So that's another way of kind of progressing that. So the week after, I made it a wee bit tighter. So there definitely is still an aspect of progressive overload there, for sure. So
yeah, that's the thing. Progressive overload. I keep thinking in my head, as soon as Joe said progressive overload, I went, increasing weight, but like just tightening up form.
Yeah, you tighten form. Drop it from like 4-second rest to 3-second rest or something like that. It's still going to fuck you up either way.
Yeah.
even adding a second onto your negatives, that's enough to get 10 times harder. So a lot of people forget that.
That's the thing I am with my training. Is like my negatives are fucking slow. So
I'm very much like that one. Like anything like leg extension, hamstring curl, anything like that, I just absolutely rinse eccentrics. To be fair, I might I don't want to try and make a novelty, like just do it for novelty, but I might look at adding some more intensity techniques program, because at the minute all I've got is like some Widowmaker leg press sets and stuff like that, like single leg press, 24 reps each leg, stuff like that. Definitely something to look into.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Sure. What's your plans for like the near future, competing wise or business wise or anything like that?
So competing wise, I'm just taking this. I've taken this year off. Before all the lockdown shit that happened, I had like an inkling to do the PCA Worlds Body Power, the pro class, but I was kind of like, nah, I'll just leave that. So luckily enough, I know the owner that owns my gym, so he's been kind enough to let me train there. Because we're still in lockdown here, none of the gyms are open. So I'm just going to spend the rest of this year just adding as much size as I possibly can, and then I'm going to do the Nabba Universe next November, which I don't need to qualify for. So I'll be jumping straight through to that. So the Universe has always been like the pinnacle for me. I know a lot of people like think obviously an IFBB Pro card is number one, and don't get me wrong, it is. But the first guy who took me under his wing, he always kind of like. He was considered the Universe to be where you want to be amateur-wise. So
I feel like even like it doesn't matter whether you're pro or not. If you can say you're Mr. Universe,
that's the thing is that the general public don't know. Most general public don't know what Mr. Olympia is, but they know what an IFBB
pro card is. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of always been my thing. I mean, my girlfriend thinks I'm a fucking idiot. She thinks I should just focus on IFBB, but. I don't know. I've tried to like mold my brain into thinking, oh fuck, I just go for two bros. But I think this is the route I want to take. So I'm pretty.
So is it like you want to? This is like something on your bucket list that you could tick off, and then you're going to go try and get an IFBB pro?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. So
Josh Malley's the same, right?
Yeah. So was that?
Oh, nothing. I think it cut out.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it's definitely that's like the top of the bucket list is in terms of bodybuilding, to complete that first, and then move on to kind of the pro card route after that.
Yeah. What would be your end goal in bodybuilding? Obviously, Universe is on the list, but what is your end goal?
If you I don't know. I'd like to see how I rank up in the IFBB Pro League. I think every bodybuilder ever touches a weight who says, "Oh, I wonder how I'd do in the show." You know what I mean? Or, you're practicing your pose routine, pretending you're in front of Arnold with you on Snapchat and that.
Probably next. If I'll have him, some shit like that.
Yeah.
So
I've got these up on my wall behind me. Look at while I'm hitting poses.
So I'd like to see kind of where I fared in like a pro ranking, but I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% certain, but I don't think a Scotsman's ever been on the Olympia stage. There's obviously been a lot of English guys, and obviously Flex is 212 pros, 212 Mr. Olympia. So, but I'm getting way ahead of myself. I think bodybuilding's full of people who aren't realists.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? It seems to be the only sport where like you touch a weight or you're a beginner and you think you're going to go at the very top. You know what I mean? Just being honest.
So true.
I'm not going to go kick a football and think I'm going to compete in play in the Champions League. Well, definitely not in Scotland anyway. But like it's the same kind of thing. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to be as real as possible. So you know, I didn't think I could win a Universe until I came 6th last year. And, you know what I mean? So it's about taking these baby steps and having realistic goals. For me, you know, I think anything beyond the Universe would just be like, obviously, just like an incredible addition.
Yeah.
Way, so.
Like how? What was your height and weight at the Universe?
Universe, I was 236, and I'm 5'11" on a good day. So I make the class 1 cut off by 1 centimeter. So I'm always going to be the shortest class 1. So,
have you ever been heighted in wrong? Has that ever happened to you?
No.
Oh.
So yeah, it's a 1 centimeter cut off. Like when I put my hair up on that, like I'm 6 foot, but it's a bit strange being being the shortest class 1. But yeah, I was really off at the universe, because I started dieting in January and the universe was the start of November. Like the whole year was perfect. Every single show I'd done that year, I'd done 6 shows that year, and I ran pretty much the final week the exact same. I don't do anything crazy. I don't do depletions or nothing like that. And apart from like subtle tweaks, like a few grams here and there, every I call it peak week, but you know what I mean. I hate calling it that, but they were pretty much the same. And then for some reason, when I stepped on the universe stage, I was like, backstage when you're off, and I was like, fucking hell, no one's looking at me, and so you're like, oh shit. And then I got on stage and I had my best mate and his girlfriend were up from. They came up from London, and I had a few other mates as well from Glasgow, and none of them were screaming and shouting. And I was like, fuck, I'm off. And I just knew it. So I got second for one. Oh, I know, it's brutal. I've been there many a time. Yeah. But it's just the way of the game. You're like, my body was just like, fuck you, I'm done. So it's what it is.
Yeah,
that's the thing as
how
well.
Mine was last year.
Nabba's sort of had like a fucking massive resurgence in the last few years as well.
Yeah,
it's like you got Jack Brooker, Josh Murray, yourself. You got some fucking really good physiques.
Oh yeah.
On that page as well. It's like for a while it just went for like guys were like 5'5" and fucking shredded and like 44 years old and stuff like that. But now like there's some really fucking aesthetic
talented guys,
young guys coming in as well. It's cool to see.
Yeah, when I saw they gave Max O'Connor the universe, I was like, all right, okay, well, that's giving me a bit more hope that Nabba are going down the more aesthetic route. Because like obviously you've got guys from way back in the day that they would have fucking 120-inch bicep and the other one was 18 and a torn lat, but they were shredded and huge, it didn't matter. It's nice to see that they've changed just that little bit towards more aesthetic.
Where do you think bodybuilding is going at the moment? Because obviously the IFBB had a massive push that direction in the past few years. Mm-hmm. Do you think where do you think it's going to go? Do you think we're going to go back to like, I hate to say aesthetic, but aesthetic?
Well, better than that. What do you think of the Tampa Pro this weekend?
Yeah,
that was absolutely spot on. I thought Ian would have taken it purely because more so that he's a little bit grainier than Hunter, but Hunter's just got just a perfectly put together physique. He's so round, and
that's what I said.
I wasn't surprised with that one at all. So
on our wrap up, I said it reminds me a lot of Sass as well. Sassan.
Yeah,
it's just fucking complete from every angle.
Yeah,
but he's not 5'6". He's 5'10". So
that look is just mental. It was a brilliant look.
Yeah, when I saw him watched the posing routine he did, I looked at it and it was one of the first times in a while I've genuinely gone, fuck, I wish I looked like that. that was my response. I looked at him, I was like, fuck, the tan is perfect, the conditioning's good, everything's symmetrical, the proportions are great, like he's just, the posing routine was lights out. So
it's funny, if you told me 12 years ago that I'd be admiring someone's fake tan, I'd been like, but yeah, his tan was fucking dynamite. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
So,
I'm happy that presentation was rewarded at a show as well. It's like it's like when we had Josh Kinsey-Clough on, we talked a lot about posing, and we got a few questions about posing because you present very well on stage, in my opinion. And I'm just happy to see that it's sort of the way you present your physique, actually is taken into consideration again. Because for a few years, it's just been who's the most muscular and the most conditioned guy on stage. And to me, that's not really a positive fucking direction to go in.
Yeah, it went to like the furthest logical conclusion, didn't it? And then it's now started to go the other way. That's something it seems like.
Yeah, even since I started, there's definitely more emphasis and more eyes on a good posing routine and the way someone conducts themselves posing wise. Yeah. Which that's obviously brilliant. It's my favourite part. I like. People ask me if it's it just comes naturally. It definitely does, but I think, Josh can dance, and I can dance, and I generally think like that's where it comes from. If you have a wee bit of a dancer in you, but I grew up around rugby lads, so I'm a fuck dancing anyway. I mean, so when I was able to like pose as part of the sport and do a posing routine, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna put some fucking effort into this because I can actually apply like dancing feet to a routine, basically.
Yeah. That is like something that this off season as well. I want to, as soon as we can, I'm going to start trying to implement dance classes and stuff like that. Just some weird stuff. It's not like I'm planning to be like Kai Green coming out to Dirty Diana. Like, I feel like there is something to say for like dramatic flair. Like the guy who won the people who won both the shows that I did last year had stellar routines. Mm-hmm. That's partly why they won. The crowd response to it was insane. Yeah, but you had like middle-aged women stand up like cheering and stuff, like they're at like a concert or something. Like
it's all about hands, mate. You gotta have like the kind of flowy hands like that.
Yeah.
Because one of the manager of my old gym was like, "What the fuck do you do with your hands?" And I'm like, I don't even know what I do with my hands. It's just like, so you got to learn how to be like all flowy and all kind of like holding apples and shit. Like, you know how, like, I know we take the piss out of them, but like with the men's physique guys, like they kind of rotate.
Yeah, they do the
you got to have loose wrists to be a good poser. So
yeah,
the wanker.
Oh dear. That reminds me when I off topic. The one time I asked Flex Lewis at an expo how do you get his forearms. And so the cameraman next to him said, "Turn off the camera." Turned back to me and my mates. We were about 60 at the time. He says, "Just wank more."
Yeah,
that was his response.
I've met Flex about 4 times. I swear he's told me the same thing 4 times.
Yeah,
I think he's genuinely been serious.
I think he might be. You know,
just
he might be.
So,
do you want to get into some questions?
Yeah.
Cool. First, before I pull some up, did you get any, Andy?
Did I get what, sorry?
Did you get any questions?
No, I didn't know.
Okay.
Okay, bear with me. Okay, so, right. We'll start off with this because we're carrying on with the topic. So who are some of your favourite posers and bodybuilders?
Posing-wise, Lee Labrada. I love Kai Green's posing, although it's not a kind of posing I would do. I've always kind of admired the way he posed. Yeah. Bob Paris. Those 3 guys definitely are the 3 for me that I kind of like. Fucking hell, that's quality. I mean, you can say Cedric McMillan as well. I was actually at the Arnold 3 years ago when he won, and that was something to be seen. That was brilliant. But I like definitely the kind of Lee Labrada, Bob Paris, and then just for a wee bit of like different, you know, that's a bit weird type posing, Kai Green. Bodybuilders, obviously, being from the UK, like Dorian is number 1 on my list. Although I've got a good story about him, which I've told a million times, but I don't think I've told it publicly on a podcast. So I went to, my ex-girlfriend got me a session with him in Marbella. So I flew out to Marbella, and the session cost £400 an hour, and showed up to whatever gym it was that he done sessions out of, and then he didn't show up.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
I'll get right to word with him, Jermaine.
Yep.
So that's my wee story about Don Yates, but it kind of, he's still my hero. So he was so much of a hero that I let him off. But because Marbella is really not my kind of place. I really do not like that kind of place. So, but yeah, that's my wee story about myself and Dorian Yates.
Damn.
And then Flex, number 2. And I'll keep it a bit closer to home. The guy that's helped me for years, Nick Vandal, I've always looked up to him in terms of physique. Just a hard-working guy that just kind of cracks on and has just like mental, like what you could like describe as disgusting condition. I've always kind of looked up to him. So when I first started working with him when I was young, that was like a big kind of oh shit moment. So definitely those 3 guys.
Another question: how important is stretching? When do you do it? Thoughts on DC stretches?
So I do stretch. I know it's a wee bit controversial if you want to say that, but I do static stretching before as well.
Okay.
So I do kind of like bar rotations, like a broomstick rotation. So broom above your head and then you rotate back and forth.
Yeah.
Like resistance band stretching, hanging stretches. Yeah, I do that all before, and then I'll do more DC stuff post workout. So fly stretches and things like that. So yeah, it's definitely the missing link for most guys and girls. You watch some people squat and it looks fucking so rigid. You just wait for your hamstring to pop off.
We should clip this one. This is a good one to throw up on.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think that stretching. I fell out of routine for stretching this year, but last year when I was in contest prep, because I had a few issues with I had it with my forearm a bit, where my forearm would lock up sometimes when I was after doing pulls or something. So I got big into stretching and like just rinsing my electrolytes, of course. But yeah, it definitely has a massive impact on just like how you hit. Like for me, it had a big impact on how I hit poses.
Definitely.
Well, I know something that I noticed with a lot of people is they'll hit a pose and they'll hit like a front double or whatever, and then they can't retract their scapula or anything enough, and they can't, like you say, like doing the dowel rod exercises and like opening up around your shoulders. It's huge.
Some guys that can't even load like dumbbells on a shoulder press. It's so horrific. So yeah, I done like a wee bit of stretching when I was younger, and I kind of fell away from it. And then I done my right bicep. I've not torn anything. Yeah. But one morning I woke up, I couldn't even lift my arm about like a high, and it was just chronic tightness and inflammation. So stretched that off, and eventually that kind of got better. And I've had issues with the brachialis in both arms, which kind of started in November, and obviously coupled with your proper rest, your supplementation, and that the stretching is paramount. And I wish guys took as much pride in their stretching as they did their training. You'd save a lot of injuries. The guy from the Northeast, Matt A. something, you guys know him? I mean, he just ripped his bicep off, and he's still a junior. You know what I mean? So I don't know if stretching was like the way of stopping that, but I'm sure a lot of tears and a lot of injuries can be prevented by guys taking far more pride in their stretching. Like my training partner Darren, he'll probably watch this, but he's probably fucking sick of this, like the noise of me saying you need to stretch. And then so what will be like, I'll be stretching, and he's like, all right, see you later, and he'll walk out. I'm like, right, okay, you're just gonna do something again. So it's definitely a massive thing that guys are just not taking into consideration at all.
But also, adding to that, I think it helps with the recovery of the muscle, 100%. Yeah. Especially with legs. It's like if you leave the gym with your quads like fully pumped, for me, I've noticed they stay sorer for longer.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's days where I'm in a bit of a rush, so I'll miss out my DC stretches I do for quads afterwards, and 100% I'm sorer for longer, 100%. So.
And massively increase your injury risk as well, not stretching, especially if you're doing the heavy training we're doing. That's partly probably why I dislocated my ankle when I was 18. I was doing like a lot of squatting. I was really into barbell squatting at the time. Did tons of squatting, a lot of like RDL, like stiff leg deadlifts and stuff like that. And I was doing like no stretching. So you can imagine how it happened, where I was just doing a normal thing, like stepping off of something, like, I don't know, like a less than a foot drop, and then my whole ankle just went. And that was just because I had so much tightness in my muscle fascia.
Yeah.
So
I do think a lot of because you see it a lot, like people, with their squat form, they don't go deep. Well, in my opinion, don't go deep enough, or on something else, you know, they can't get that low. A lot of it's to do with the hips and a lot's to do with ankle mobility as well.
Yeah.
So I said it to you, didn't I, Jermaine? Even for like squat depth, like maybe stretch out your calves before you train, or you know, and do just fucking fix where it's stiff, because stiffness is putting you at higher risk of injury. So
yeah, that was one of the things I did for rehabilitation after I dislocated my ankle. For months I couldn't squat past parallel. I couldn't below that depth because my ankle, the tightness, obviously it had a lot of damaged tissue there and like cartilage and like whatever else, and buildup of like damaged tissue. So breaking that down and just like trying to stretch that out, physio, everything like that, just opening stuff up, made a huge difference. And then obviously after that I had another issue with adductors and like that's another big one as well. Like people don't do adductor work a lot of the time in leg programming. I'm just like, it's a big muscle. It is a muscle that people just aren't training. So
and they'll be like leg pressing, their knees will be doing this. Like,
you just get the valgus in the knee and your knees come up.
Now you're watching it. Oh fuck, that's horrible.
It's like one of my biggest pet peeves in the gym. Seeing someone, I'm like, it stresses me out because I see it and I'm like, oh, it could happen at any moment. Well, then it could go or something like that. And it just,
definitely.
Yeah, you never know. Another question, Joe?
Yeah. I think Keith's brought us a lot of Scottish fans to the channel.
Has he? I bet he has.
So, done that one. Bear with. Right, it's gone off my feed, so I've had to get a screenshot.
That's all right. Yeah. While we're waiting, shout out to Chris, because I don't know if anyone saw, he got shouted out by JP on his story, because JP, I think it was a response to a question. He was saying, oh, like, how do I do these things, this thing, like, and basically the whole idea of nailing the basics. And Keithy is one of those people, along with Caitlin as well.
I saw that post. Yeah.
Like just nailing the basics and just running with that, because that will take you so far, especially in the beginning years. So to those two, they've both been guests on, and big up.
It's a bit of an unusual one because we haven't really delved into it. Thoughts on SEO use in bodybuilding?
I've never done it myself. To be honest, like I pin my rear delts. My rear delts are one of my weakest body parts. Not for necessarily the oil that you're putting in, but more like it causes a bit of inflammation, which makes them look a little bit rounder. I know that's a bit weird, but
makes sense.
That's why that's why I use my rear delts as one of my sites. In terms of like actual enhancement, I mean, if we're untested bodybuilding, like anything goes. So why is there such a big taboo on that when there's none on gear? So I don't know. I think you're a wee bit of a hypocrite if you advocate all types of performance enhancers, but oil you don't. You know, like you're not going to use oil and look like Phil Heath. So it's
you see SEO use more often go wrong than you do right. So it's definitely like, you know, it's not like a guaranteed way of just being huge, like real.
Exactly, and like if you know what are you going to do? Pin every single like muscle in your body, you know? Right? So
you just look like the Michelin Man by the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, we're all trying to create the perfect physique, and we've all got missing wee bits here and there. So if it's used subtly, I don't see a problem with it at all. Not at all.
Is there anything that you would consider not acceptable or you don't agree with? Is there anything?
I don't agree with DMP use.
Okay,
100%. If you're using DMP to get in shape, you're behind anyway. So it's unlikely. For most, there are people who have used it successfully. But in my opinion, DMP use is the very, very last resort. And if you're using that, you're not going to look that good anyway, in my opinion.
I found the first thing mention I saw DMP was in a newspaper, and it was a girl who found out about it. I assume from someone at a gym who was a bodybuilder or something. Ended up taking it and died.
Yeah.
So in my head, straight away, if it's something for me that can kill you on the spot like that, probably not something you should be taking.
It's because the effective dose is so close to the fatal dose, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
there's no middle ground there. It's just it's fat. So
it's just like I had a guy come to me for posing coaching, and he was standing there and like literally like splish splashing in his own sweat, and like he was yellow, and I was like, it's not worth it, mate. You know what I mean? It's you know, it just sounds fucking brutal. I'd rather do 0 carbs for 20 weeks and take 1 week of DMP.
Yeah.
But for people who don't know what DMP is, can we have a description? I think I could just say it's a fat burner, but it's a bit more than that. So
it's just a chemical compound that just kind of burns fat off you literally by
increases a lot of thermogenesis as well. So your body temperature goes fucking sky high, and it's why one of the stories I heard from someone is that they literally had to sleep with a towel around them in bed because they woke up and it was like a fucking swimming pool in there.
And it can stain your mattress and everything. Like your sweat's yellow. So yeah, it's just a chemical compound that manipulates the cells to kind of the way it works with ATP or something like that. Yeah. I'm never going to use it, so I'm not bothered to probably look into it. But the guys that I've spoken to that have used it, I'm just kind of like,
it's just horror stories, isn't it?
Yeah, is this show really worth it that you're going to do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. All right.
We've got one more.
One more.
So all it really says is your introduction to bodybuilding, and how long were you training until you went to the enhanced side?
So I was introduced to weight training through rugby. So I always played outside centre, and I wanted to move up to the flanker position or back row. And so I'm 5'11", which that's quite short for a back row. So I was like, well, I need to get bigger then. So I started training on my 16th birthday. Went and got my gym membership, and before I knew it, I still love rugby. Like generations of my family played rugby, so it's in my blood. But that's just solely confined to playing it. I fucking hate the training. As funny as this will sound, it's so monotonous. And I
completely agree. I played American football, right, for the Midlands, and game time, I'm happy to play.
Yeah.
But the training is just the same bullshit fucking drills that you have to go through. Once in every 20 of those situations actually happen in a game.
Yeah.
And you just got to listen to this old bastard who's probably fucking half senile just screaming at you and shouting at you like, you're not fucking doing it right. Well, fuck off then. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. The training became monotonous to me, and like obviously to this day,
as well, isn't it? The reliance on other people. If you're doing part, and they're fucking up, going out on the piss or whatever, and you're giving 100% to what you're doing, it's.
I mean, there was always a kind of idea in the back of my head that maybe one day I'll go pro, which even in Scotland that's quite hard to do. I just knew I was never that level. I got up to select level and I was like, nah, this isn't for me. And then when I transitioned to kind of just going to the gym, I was watching like Muscle Tech, like the Muscle Tech 60-second videos. I was watching them and I was like, who the fuck are these guys? And like, what sport is it these guys do? And eventually I looked into it a bit more, and I was like, that's pretty fucking cool. And then, from there I was like, right, well, if I'm going to dedicate myself to lifting weights and eating properly, then I need some sort of proper, tangible goal. And I was like, I'll do one of these bodybuilding shows then. So that was 2010. And the first show I done was the Nabba Scottish in 2012. And then I seeked out the help of a former Mr. Universe up in the northeast of Scotland, and kind of took it from there. And then, so if we're talking about bodybuilding training, we'll say 16, but training with weights probably about 14, 15. Before that with rugby, and then I went on my first cycle just before my first show when I was 19. So that's what, 4 years? 4 years training unassisted, not if you want to call it that,
It paid off though, right?
Yeah. To be honest, like if I'm being like hand on heart, like I probably should have done a season natural with BMBF or whatever.
That was my reasoning for going natural. Like,
yeah,
was like
and like I don't know. That's just a wee bit of hindsight now. Not that I've ever had a problem with using gear. I just probably wish I'd done maybe a season 9, just kind of done that. But it doesn't really matter because it's all worked out in the end anyway. So still, when I have clients come to me I've never used before and who want to compete, I always say 1 season at least natural, 1 show at least natural, and then and take it from there. Just so that before you go down that route, you know it's something you want to do. So for instance, I've got a girl competing in the PCA first timers, and I said, look, there's going to be girls there definitely on stuff, but I highly recommend you do this first prep natural and just get a feel for the sport, get a feel for if you actually like being up there, and before you, because obviously it's a lot harsher for women, so just do it natty and see how you feel, and then if you want to go down that route, you can go down that route. So
on that sort of topic, obviously nowadays, you hear a lot about, staying on like cruise doses and not coming off. Whereas, in times past, you'd have people, at the highest level competing regularly, having, apparently having periods off and things like that.
Just do like the last 8 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
You hear about stuff.
I presume that's utter bollocks. But what's your thoughts on either way, and which would you not advise, but in your own experience, which, if you're really looking to compete, what would you?
I've done it all. So I've come off not PCT'd, I've come off PCT'd, I've cruised. I think it comes down to your current set of circumstances. So for me, this is before Patrick, but I've never prepped with Patrick before. Post-show, I like to come off everything and just clean out, because I don't know, I just feel like I just want to kind of rid my system of all the stuff that happened in that prep. I like coming off. I've never had a bad experience coming off. I don't really suffer downers or anything like that. And if you keep reminding yourself that it's for a purpose, coming off is for a purpose to reset your body. If you constantly keep reminding yourself of that, you're eventually going to fall into the mindset of, I may feel like shit. My lifts are down, but it's for a reason, and they'll go back up as soon as I go back on. So I'm more, if we're talking about which one I prefer, coming off absolutely completely teetotal, I prefer. But if we're talking maybe you're doing 2 parts of a season, you're doing like the early shows and the late shows, 100% cruise. There's no time to come off. There's no point coming off, assuming your blood work's obviously on point. Guys who maybe suffer from well-being issues, you might look to stay on a small amount and things like that. So it's very circumstantial. But for myself, I love coming off. I love being on, but I also love coming off. So I think I've got a nice kind of combination of the two.
That's interesting. Might be the first time I think I've heard anyone say that. You always hear people just say, "Oh, I hate coming off. It's the worst. Oh, I've got a PCT. Oh, blood work." Like, it's rare that I've like been around someone who's come off or seen someone who's come off and they're just like, "Yeah, it's fine."
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's again, we go back to where I started. Like the guy who introduced me to gear and that the Mr. Universe I spoke about before. He was like that. Come off. Like, he always said to me that everyone does, if he's talking about the pro stage, they do the Olympia and they come off until New Year. And I was like, well, I'm not going to Olympia, but I'll replicate that. So like 4 months off. So like I think my first year competing, I'd done the entire year. So I'd done the 2 Scottish shows and I'd done the British in October. And I think I was off until February after that. Same the next year. I didn't start cruising until maybe late 2016. I started doing cruise stuff. And then 2018, I came completely off. And from April until September, And then last year, I came off from a couple of weeks after Universe until March. So even now, I'm still coming off completely teetotal.
Just to clarify as well, you know, a fucking cruise dose isn't fucking 600 milligrams, you know?
No. To me, my cruise dose is 125 a week. Some guys it's 250, but I like 125.
Just to put this out there while people listen, because we've gone down like a trail of conversation here. This is all for entertainment. Do not. I don't want anyone just copying Andy's cycle. Okay, just so we got that out there. This is for entertainment, and yeah, we're not liable. Yeah. So
we do, you know, getting off that topic anyway. The one thing we do love on this podcast is fucking food. So, you know, I think to round off the show,
bringing it back.
We always asked, yeah, we're bringing it back. If you could have any 3-course meal right now, I mean, you're probably stuffed with all the shit Patrick's got you eating. So it's going to be fresh air, and fresh air. Yeah, but any 3-course dish, could be takeout, homemade, anything. You know, like death row. What we're going for?
Right. Starter. I don't know if they have it down in England. It's a soup called Cullen Skink. Do you know what that is?
Right.
It sounds disgusting.
How do you say that? Sorry. So
fucking Highland brew, Jermaine. Just ignore it.
Cullen Skink.
Cullen Skink.
What's in it?
I think it's haddock that's in it. It's just like a fish soup, basically.
Oh, okay, nice.
But I think it's fucking delicious.
To our American viewers, that's clam chowder. Yes.
We bit of bread with that. That's dynamite to me. Main one thing. Honestly, like it's fucking boring. But you know, like what's the name of that sauce? Lloyd Grossman. You know Lloyd Grossman. The spicy like chili tomato. That one with frozen pasta. That's fucking spot on.
That is good.
Dessert. That's a hard one because I'm a massive.
Just carbs and sauce.
What? Just got any meat with that, or?
I'll have some meatballs with that.
Okay, cool, nice.
Half a block of cheese as well. Yeah.
And then dessert-wise, oh fucking hell! Right, so you know the Sainsbury's white chocolate raspberry cookies. Yeah. Right, so get some of them, and then get like you know the topped Ben and Jerry's.
Mate, it's like gold. You cannot find that shit here anymore.
I haven't eaten any ice cream since May, so I don't even know if it's still about.
Guess who's got Ben and Jerry's tonight?
That shit underground stuff.
Yeah. I think it was like strawberry dream cake topped one or something like that.
That's one of them, yeah.
Yeah.
So that, and then I mash the cookies on top of that, and then what else did I used to do? Like you get like toffee sauce and just fucking clatter that in it.
Absolutely not sugar-free, by the way.
No, fuck no.
Oh yeah.
all that sugar-free like syrup stuff. Like honestly, like if I just have like a drop of that, I'll shit my pants. I don't know what the fuck they put in that stuff. Like I remember using the Walden Farm stuff. In a few years ago, like during prep when I was dying, and I was like proper having to check after every set of squats, like I hadn't shat myself. Like fuck, that stuff's disgusting. So, but yeah,
I know the feeling on that with my fucking colon problem. You know, it causes a lot of inflammation for me as well. All the like artificial sweeteners and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was all right. I think last year up until I think post show after my first show. Was it? No, it was my first. It was my first like peak week.
It's already on your brain damage, hasn't it?
I had no like refeeds or anything. So then I had a bunch more carbs put in for peak week, obviously. So I was like, I could afford to have like 2 bowls of like oatmeal, where I wouldn't have before. So then I basically just doubled the amount of Walden Farms I'd use in a day. And that just fucking ruined me.
The gut wrecker, man.
Yeah.
That's a diet stand right there. That's what that is.
Oh, yeah.
Dangerous business. Dangerous business.
What was I going to say as well? What is the food scene up in Scotland like? Because I haven't actually seen much. Obviously, I know about fried Mars bars and haggis and all that shit. But what's the restaurant scene like up there?
In Glasgow, it's brilliant. You've got like independent places all over the place. Glasgow's fantastic for all these like burger places and breakfast places, and they're scattered all over the city. So there's tons in the West End, and then we've got all like the chains and all that as well. So I don't know about, well, where I'm from in Aberdeen, like it's not really the same. Definitely, like in terms of food culture, like Glasgow's number one for me. Edinburgh's just all kind of chains and that, but there's so many tourists that go there that it has to be all chains.
Yeah.
But I think I generally think that's one of the reasons why Scotland, other than the population, doesn't produce a lot of bodybuilders, and why physique sport is quite not unpopular, but not as popular as in England per capita, because our diets are fucking shocking. It is horrendous up here.
Do you think that raises the caliber though, the competitors? It's like it seems like you got good quality, just not quantity.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like if you look at some of the cows we produce, like it's all there. It's all sitting in the fields, but like we're picking like the bottom of the barrel shite to deep fry and do so. Like I remember looking back at what I ate in school. Like I'm sure no one really eats that well in school anyway, but it's proper shocking. I remember getting like deep fried pizza as an actual thing up here, and it's called a pizza crunch. So I got a pizza crunch, and obviously your chip shop chips, like a dish of that, and then a tub of the brownie Ben and Jerry's. Like that was a staple. Like once a week when I was at school, I would die if I ate that now.
If I lived in Scotland, I would not have made it past 16.
No.
Honestly, mate, that's honestly like we laugh and joke about like Scotland and the UK having like an obesity crisis, but
it's bad, man.
It's no fucking surprise, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Just look at Scottish culture in terms of the food, in terms of the alcohol abuse and all that as well. It's just a recipe for like obesity, really.
The one thing I really used to enjoy at school, because I don't know if you got it, Home Bargains, like the discount shops and all that shit. So every morning, before I was a bit of a independent trader back in school, and I used to go to the Home Bargains, buy a load of shit, bring it in, and like charge 50p per item and stuff like that.
That's just entrepreneurial mind, mate. That's just business.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Fucking brilliant.
The sweet shop dealer.
The Nestle Gold bars.
Yeah.
You used to go through about 2 packs, so 12 of them a day. Bag of Doritos. But I thought I was a bodybuilder back then because I had tuna sandwiches, so it was.
That's it.
Yeah. You always that was my thinking as well, that I could counter everything I was eating because I was eating a tuna sandwich.
I got protein. It's all good.
It's fine, totally fine. That's when I had no money. That's what I did. It was just tuna, non-stop tuna, and then just shite carbs on top of that.
I had when I was 15, 16, started training. It's amazing I didn't have some sort of issue.
I don't think that helped in digestion, to be fair. It's like every morning, because my mom's very supportive of everything, she'd do me like 10 whole eggs, 4 toast, then I'd go to school, have all that shit, come home, and then have like tuna pasta again, like 3 cans of tuna, fuckload of pasta, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to get massive. Yes, you're going to get massive, you're going to become a fat cunt.
Yeah, for me it was very much like after I convinced my mum that protein powder wasn't a steroid, it was just like protein powder, like a protein shake in the morning with fruit or whatever, and then I just have like tuna and rice and stuff for lunch in a Tupperware, and I'd have to sit on my own at school because no one wanted to be around my disgusting tuna smelling.
Yeah, man. I went one step further. I brought like fucking canned sardines, because like 39p in the morning. I'd just be like, yeah, let's get through 3 of them. And looking back now, that's like 80 grams of fat, 30 grams of protein. I'm like, macros, get them in.
The worst thing I did was I was 16, I think. I went on a train to a gig in Sheffield, which is where I'm from. And I was on the trip with my mates, and in a Tupperware, I had turkey and egg.
Yep.
Still hot. It was still warm and hot, and it had sriracha on top of it.
Fuck. Oh, no.
I was on a hot train on the way to this gig. We sat next to my friends and all these people. It's a packed train. And on the way on the train, because I wasn't going to eat in the venue, I opened the lid and started on the train. And there was a woman who was sat behind me, and my friend was like sat opposite me, and he could see the woman. And she kept turning around, and she kept like gagging as if she was about to the smell of the egg and the turkey.
Fuck me, Jermaine. That's worse than my train story.
Have you shat yourself on the train?
No.
I don't know why that was my go-to.
The one I sent you the other week. So I was on the way back from Worcester.
Oh, yeah.
And coming straight from my girlfriend's uni, and I was going to the gym. So I was like, right, it's about 40 minutes from Worcester to Birmingham. Right, let's get the meal in. So I think it was like chicken, sweet potatoes, and broccoli, and I had like a cookie on the side or something like that. And the woman comes down, like the train fucking worker, and she's like, "You can't eat that on here." I was like, "Sorry." She's like, "You can't eat that on here." I'm like, "Why?" I pointed to this like 400-pound obese fucking woman eating a McDonald's over from like a couple of seats away, and I was like, "That thing is eating over there. Why can't I eat?" Like, she's got a condition. It's fine. I said, "Look, just fuck off. I'm eating," and she just walked away. And I'm like, "What the fuck's that about? Like double standards or what?" You know, I'm trying to be here.
Yeah, Mackey's is fine, not your clean.
Yeah. You're stinking the train out. Fuck off.
That's the thing. You get absolutely crucified if you dare point out someone who's overweight in here now. So
yeah, it's a weird one.
But yeah, like I don't know what schools you went to, but I used to bring a protein shaker with water in it, and I got fucking bullied.
Yeah,
like that's obviously just shows the level of culture up here.
It's the same. I think it's improved a lot. Like, we're going back like 5 years now.
Yeah.
So when I was like in like 14, 15, I kind of like, I was like, okay, I know I'm going to get protein in, so I'll get that shitty Optimum Nutrition one with green tea extract, of course. Bring that in. Like, you know, the ones you can clip on the bottom of the shaker and then just pour it in afterwards. Yeah. So I was like there, and I drink it in the lesson, and I got sent to like the headmaster's office, and the fucking teacher thought I was on the gear. I was like, what the fuck is going on? So I went for lunch with the other kids. I'm like, I've eaten already.
Aye.
But you can't eat in lesson. I'm like, I've just fucking drank it. What's the problem?
Fuck it out.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, shandy in the can as well.
Yeah.
Shandy glass. It's like 0.03% alcohol or something like that. It's like fermented barley. And my mate was drinking like 3 cans. He was acting all pissed in lesson. And the teacher literally got the cans, poured them down, like took him to the bathroom, poured them down the toilet, and was like, right, that's it. You're like expelled and shit like this for drinking in lesson. And he was like, I'm only joking. I'm not actually drunk, you know. So, but school fucking culture is just crazy. So
school is a fucking jungle.
The zoo, man, it's crazy.
Yeah.
How old are you guys? What, you're both? How old?
I'm 20, so
I'm 20 as well. Yeah.
So school for me was a way more distant memory than you two.
Yeah, I bet we had to deal with a bit less than you did, to be honest. I think like my school.
At least you weren't in Glasgow back then.
I know. Well, yeah, I would not like to grow up in a Glaswegian school. No chance.
Yeah.
That's a stabbing. You're just asking for a stabbing, no matter what.
Oh, I know.
See if I whipped out a bottle of water in a Glaswegian school, you get stabbed for that. Like I would put money on it. You actually would.
Do you know what? I'm in the same boat. I'm glad that I'm happy living in Birmingham right now. I'm glad I didn't go to school in Birmingham.
Mate, look, right. You're in a decent part of Birmingham, even though I'm like 10 minutes down the road from you. Once night falls, the rules are off, mate. They've got one of them like knife banks down the road. It's like, like remove a knife, save a life, and all this shit. Like, no one's fucking doing that. Who's doing that?
I quite like Birmingham. I've been one of my mates. He works for Land Rover Jaguar.
Okay.
So like I know Birmingham quite well, and I compare Birmingham to it's like the English Glasgow. It's very like industrial town, and I like Birmingham. But I remember
it's old. You know, it makes me want to like. I love it, but it makes me want to like do well. If you get me.
Oh mate, there's parts like Glasgow where you're like, thank fuck I put some effort into life. Jesus Christ. But yeah, in Birmingham, I remember coming home from a night out, and the girl who was in owned the flat that we were in. I was like, how do I get back to? Because this is probably around Body Power, so how do we get back to the NEC? Because that's where my hotel was. And she's like, oh, you just get the night bus from there, and like some of the shit I saw driving through that, I was like, where the fuck am I? I thought she was having me on. I thought she was like, you know what? I'm just gonna send him to his death.
Yeah.
She was just getting ready to mug you. Yeah.
That was
like 5 guys around the corner.
So no, but I think Birmingham's class. I like Birmingham.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's all like, it's fucking, as AJ Morris would call it, it's fucking crane world at the minute.
Yeah, it's crane world at the moment.
Going under massive development. You know, Broad Street, where all the clubs are on that in the centre.
Yeah.
That's all the roads up there. You know, it's like a big tram line and everything coming in there. So they've got rid of
it feels a bit, in some ways, like I guess almost like New York. Like every other block, there's currently a crane or something.
Yeah, okay.
So that's what's currently happening, which is fine because it's like, you know, obviously gentrification of the city, so it'll look great once it's done. But right now, fuck me, it's a bit of a around.
Is that input?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, man, it's been good. I've really enjoyed this.
Yeah.
So
thank you, Andy, so much for coming on. Do we want to wrap this up now?
I'm happy to, unless you guys, either of you, got any more questions or topics you want to talk about. Either, I'm easy. So,
no, nothing on the top of my head. No.
Okay, cool. Do you want to plug yourself? All your socials, coaching?
Yes, so my Instagram's AMS MUSCLE, Facebook's Andy Scott Bodybuilder, and I'm always taking on online clients, prep clients, Gen Pop clients, one-to-one PT. My YouTube channel is also AMS MUSCLE, so I've got training videos going up regularly now. I say regularly, every 6 weeks, but I'm not made of money. And but yeah, I've got other training videos on that as well with kind of my techniques throughout the years. So be sure to check that out if you're on my YouTube.
They're not shit YouTube videos either. They're fucking high quality video.
Quality stuff, yeah.
Yeah. I thought honestly, I've tried to do all my videography stuff myself, and it's a pain there. I don't enjoy it, so I was like, fuck it, I'd rather pay someone to do it. So yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, Andy, for coming on. Thank you everyone for listening and watching, and we'll be back.
We'll be back.
Take over. Joe, you take over.
We'll be back. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening to the podcast. We'll see you next time.
See